is. We're talking bendable concrete today.
Bendable concrete.
Yeah, that stuff that's like the definition of solid. Roads, bridges, skyscrapers. What if it wasn't so rigid?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Where are we going with this?
Well, there's this article, right, from 3D printing industry, and it's all about how engineers at the University of New Mexico are basically, well, making concrete bend.
Huh. So not just like a little give, but actually bendable.
That's what they're saying. And to get why that's a big deal, we got to start with why regular concrete is even a problem,
Right, because it's strong, we use it everywhere.
Exactly. But it's strong in a specific way.
Compression, yeah. Like a huge building pressing down, it holds.
But try pulling it apart and...
Snap City. Brittle. The article I read actually quotes one of the researchers, something like, concrete on its own, no tensile properties to speak of.
No tensile properties, meaning?
It can't handle being stretched or bent. That's why you get cracks, all the maintenance headaches, even safety issues, right?
So making concrete bendable, that's pretty huge.
It is, if they can actually pull it off. But how are they even doing it?
That's the cool part. Polymer fibers.
Like little threads mixed into the concrete itself?
Basically, tons of tiny reinforcements, letting it stretch a bit under stress instead of just cracking.
Okay, but we're talking skyscrapers, bridges. This stuff has to be seriously strong still.
It is. They're not sacrificing strength for bendability. It's like adding a whole new dimension to what concrete can do.
So I'm guessing they didn't just throw any old fibers in there, right? Had to be specific.
Oh, absolutely. The article mentions they tested a bunch of different types. Polyvinyl alcohol was one, even something called ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene fibers.
A mouthful. That makes sense. You want that perfect balance of strength and bendability.
Right. But here's the thing. I was wondering, was this just a lab experiment or...
Oh, no. This gets even more interesting. They designed this bendable concrete with a purpose for 3D printing.
3D printed buildings are a thing now.
Becoming more and more so. But even then, often you still need steel reinforcement, those rebar grids.
Right. Makes sense. Got to hold it all together.
But this bendable stuff, they're talking self-reinforced. Like the concrete itself is strong enough to handle the forces.
Oh, wait. So no more steel. That's going to be cheaper, faster to build.
Huge potential if it works out. They're calling it ultra-ductile cementitious material. Fancy name, big implications. It's like rethinking how we build entirely.
Okay, I'm seeing why we're talking about this. It's not just like patching cracks better. It's a whole different way to approach construction.
Exactly. And speaking of different approaches, this isn't the only cool stuff happening in construction these days.
Oh, yeah. What else is out there?
Well, the article mentions this thing called impact printing. Researchers at ETH Zurich, they're using robots to build with just earth, like dirt, sand, gravel.
Building with dirt? Are we going back to mud huts?
No, it's actually pretty amazing. They're eliminating cement, which is a huge polluter, plus local materials recyclable.
So less pollution from making the building material, less hauling it around. Smart. But is it strong enough?
That's the thing, it is. Maybe not for skyscrapers, but for certain types of construction. Really promising.
Huh. So we got bendy concrete, robot dirt builders. What else?
There was one more thing mentioned. Graphene.
Graphene, that wonder material they put in everything now.
Yeah, well, now it's in concrete too.
Okay, so what does it do? Make it even stronger?
Yep. Potentially way stronger than traditional concrete.
Right.
Plus lower carbon footprint because you need less of it overall to get the same strength.
It seems like graphene really is the answer to everything.
It's pretty incredible stuff.
So bendable concrete, dirt robots, super strong graphene mix. The future's going to look wild.
It's going to be pretty amazing to see what they come up with next. And it's all about building smarter, not just bigger. Sustainability is key.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But with all this new tech, what does it actually mean for, people, our everyday lives?
That's the real question, isn't it? How did this change the way we live, how our cities function? It's bigger than just stronger bridges.
Right. There's got to be a whole ripple effect we haven't even considered yet. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, maybe we should take a step back and really dig into what this could mean for the future.
Absolutely. Let's explore that further.
All right. So we're back and thinking about bendable concrete. And what keeps hitting me is it's not just stronger. It's like smarter.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like regular concrete, it just sits there, takes the force. This stuff, it can react.
So instead of just cracking under pressure, a building could actually, move with it, like a tree bending in the wind, especially in places with earthquakes. Could that actually help?
It could, yeah. That flexibility could be huge for minimizing damage, keeping people safe. And it's not just about disasters either. Think about structures that have to handle change over time.
Like what? I'm having trouble picturing that.
All right, imagine a bridge, right? Temperature swings, it expands and contracts. Normally, that's wear and tear. But if the concrete itself can handle those shifts, longer lifespan, less maintenance, or sidewalks, tree roots pushing up from underneath.
Oh, so it's like taking cues from nature. Instead of this rigid thing humans built, it works more with those forces.
Exactly. And that opens up some crazy design possibilities, too. Buildings that can sway a little in the wind, structures that adjust their shape for energy efficiency.
It's like buildings that are almost alive, responding to the environment. Is that even realistic?
With how fast tech's moving. Not as far off as it sounds. But even before we get to that, there's the whole sustainability angle. We talked about it a bit, but it's worth digging into.
Yeah, how does all this make construction more eco-friendly?
Well, if you need less steel reinforcement in the concrete itself, that's less material, less energy to produce it. Plus, if buildings last longer because they're more flexible, that's less demolition, rebuilding.
Yeah.
Which is a huge environmental cost.
So it's not just about fancy-looking buildings, it's about making the whole process better for the planet.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about construction. Less about imposing our will on nature, more about working with it.
So like a paradigm shift in architecture almost.
Yeah.
Our buildings become more part of the environment, not just plopped down on top of it.
That's a great way to put it. And it makes you wonder, what does that mean for the future of design itself? Will buildings feel more organic, more alive? How will people react to that?
Big questions, and I don't think we have the answers yet.
Yeah,
But it's exciting to think about.
definitely. And the cool thing is, it's all happening right now. This isn't some distant future these technologies are being developed today. But I think it's time we shifted gears a bit, thought about what all this means for, our listener, not just in the abstract, but how could this impact their life?
Yeah, good point. We've talked about the big picture, but what about the personal level? How does bendable concrete, 3D printing, all that, how does it affect someone's day-to-day? So we're back, and I gotta say, my head is kind of spinning with all this. It's hard to grasp just how much potential this stuff has.
Right. It's a massive change. We've been building things the same way for, what, centuries?
Yeah.
And now suddenly we're talking about structures that can move, bend, almost like they're alive.
Yeah. We started with bendable concrete, how it works, but then like 3D printing with it. And those other examples, the impact printing using earth and the graphene concrete, it's a lot to take in.
It is, but there's a thread running through all of it, this drive towards sustainability. Building better, but also using resources more wisely, being kinder to the planet.
So it's not just sci-fi cool, it's actually like important. Out of everything we talked about, what's the one thing you'd want our listeners to really remember?
I'd say it's not just about these specific inventions. It's a signal, Construction is changing big time. What we build, how we build it, it's all going to be different. More flexible, resilient, more in tune with nature, even.
Instead of fighting against nature, working with it. That's pretty profound.
It is. And when you think about it that way, the possibilities get really wild. Imagine roads that last way longer. Less repairs, less traffic jams from construction. Buildings that can adjust to the weather, save energy.
And architects, designers, can you imagine what they'll come up with? If concrete isn't limited to straight lines anymore, the shapes, the forms you could create.
It's going to be incredible to watch.
Yeah.
And the coolest part, we're just at the beginning. Who knows what they'll invent next? Imagine whole cities transformed. Structures that are stronger, yeah, but also more beautiful, more connected to the environment.
It makes you think, doesn't it? So we've thrown a lot of information at you today, but we want to leave you with something to chew on. If bendable concrete changes what a building can be, what other rules are we taking for granted about our cities, our homes, everything we build?
How will this change the way we live, work, how our cities function? What kind of opportunities will open up? Big questions to ponder for sure.
Exactly. We've only scratched the surface, and we hope this got you curious to learn more. If you have any thoughts, predictions, anything, share them with us, our website, social media, all that. This conversation's just getting started, and we're excited to see where it goes. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious out there.